Yeah, we have a quorum, so. All right, everybody, thank you and welcome to today's Standard Specifications and Detail Committee meeting. This will be the June 12th meeting. We do have an introduction right off the bat. We do have a new member from ADOT, Audra Merrick. You want to introduce yourself real quick, Audra?
Of course. Hi, everybody, and thanks for having me. My name is Audra Merrick, and I'm the Deputy State Engineer. So I oversee all the design sections in ADOT. So thanks for having me here today. And in the future, I'll probably be in person. I just couldn't make it today, so my apologies. And thanks for having me.
Understood. Thanks for being here. All right, we'll move into agenda item number 2, the call to the audience. This is where an opportunity will be provided to the members of the public to address the committee on items that are not on the agenda that are within the jurisdiction of MAG, informational items, or on items on the agenda for discussion but not for action. Members of the public attending in person are asked to fill out a request to speak form. Comments must not exceed 3 minutes in length. A total of 15 minutes will be provided for the call to the audience agenda item unless the chair requests an exception to this limit. Members of the public attending in person may comment on agenda items posted for action at the time the item is heard. Those attending virtually may submit written comments related to the meeting through the MAG website at azmag.gov/comments and indicate for which meeting the comment is intended. Comments must be received at least 2 hours prior to the posted start time of the meeting. Comments received by the deadline will be provided to the members of the committee in advance of the meeting for consideration. Comments received after the deadline will be provided to the committee members at the next scheduled meeting of the committee, except for comments specific to an agenda item for that meeting. Please note that comments specific to an agenda item received after the deadline will not be forwarded and would need to be resubmitted prior to the next meeting of the committee. All right, we'll move into agenda item number 3 for the approval of the May 1st, 2024 meeting minutes.
Sorry to interrupt. Just to let you know, we did not receive any comments online.
Thank you, Gordon. Gordon will go ahead and pull up the meeting minutes. Hopefully everybody had an opportunity to review them. Does anybody have any corrections that need to be made to the meeting minutes? All right, hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll motion to approve.
Thank you, Warren. Can we get a second motion for these meeting minutes?
I'll second. This is Roy, I'll second.
All right, we got Jose and Roy. Thank you. With that, we'll gear up and roll into a roll call vote.
Thank you. I'm just going to run down the list from A to Z. Please indicate whether yes or no. ADOT.
Yes.
Avondale.
Yes.
Buckeye.
Yes.
Chandler.
Yes.
El Mirage.
Yes.
Lawrence. Lawrence, not present. Gilbert.
Yes.
Glendale.
Yes.
Goodyear. Goodyear, not present. Maricopa County,
Yes.
Mesa,
Yes.
Peoria,
Yes.
Phoenix,
Yes.
Scottsdale,
Yes.
Surprise,
Yes.
Tempe. No Tempe. Youngtown. And no Youngtown. The motion passes unanimously.
All right, thank you, Gordon. We'll go ahead and roll into cases carried forward from 2023, agenda item number 4. This is case 23-09. This is proposed new section for 632, water sanitary sewer tracer wire installation and related details. It's specific to section 610, 615, 616, new section 632 and revisions to detail 391-1 for the tracer wire. This one's sponsored by Warren. You want to go ahead, Warren?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chair. For this May update, there are 2 changes noted. There's a revision to detail, we added a revision to detail 391-1 valve box installation for instances where agencies may need a tracer wire access in the valve boxes. And then along with that, there was an addition to section 632.2.4 for tying that new detail or that revision to the detail into the specs. However, when I reread that this morning, I didn't quite have the language right. If you go to the section 632.2.4. There where it says valve boxes. I didn't mean to say terminate. It's just access at the valve location. I should have worded it as required by agencies. By agency, valve box access may be provided per detail 391. Or any other suggested words that anyone may have. That makes sense?
I think that makes perfect sense. You'll
Okay.
show that revision for the next
Correct. Okay.
meeting.
Other than that, we had some email communication, but I haven't received any comments that have changed anything from this current draft.
Warren, or is anything being written in this for the conductive test? Make that part of the
Yes.
specification?
It is, yep. If you read down towards the end, there's the testing requirements.
Yeah. I guess I don't have that with. I can look it up.
632.5 testing.
That's.
So just for everybody, for the whole audience, this is a carryover case. And I believe, in my opinion, it's really close to going, especially if we're not receiving any additional comments. When the committee doesn't receive comments or the sponsor doesn't receive comments, it tells us as a committee we're getting close. So if you do have comments, please get them into Warren ASAP, and let's look at those each individual comments. That's for the whole committee. That's for everybody online and here.
Thank you.
All right. We'll go ahead and move into agenda item number 5, which is new cases for 2024. Case 24-01, miscellaneous corrections. We have remove the extra space for section 325.8 quality control, remove the extra space in shall. You have the detail 120 survey marker, which will copy the note about scoring the concrete collar from the detail 270. That way we have consistency. Also, detail 552 Ford crossing and cutoff walls. We're going to correct a spelling error made there. Detail 545 end section reinforced concrete pipe. There's some clarification. We're going to clarify notes 1 and 2. And then we also have a new one for section 750.1 ductile iron water pipe. I found the word within was missing between manufacturer and the United States. So It read, manufactured the United States, being within the boundary. I thought that was an appropriate fill-in word. Manufactured within the United States. Thank you for bringing that up, Warren. There is, or I'm sorry, thank you for bringing that up on the screen, Gordon. All right, and then also we have another new one that would be detail 441, the sewer clean out. We're gonna add a note. I copy and pasted that note from the other detail. That's why it's black, but I highlighted it in red, showing that it's a change. The detail always showed the rebar dots, but it didn't specify what they were. So I just copied that note over. I thought for consistency, let's add the note for the reinforcement hoop. Does anybody have any questions on the miscellaneous corrections?
Just one more thing to add. For 441, since we're doing the cleanup, to add the readily score marks, the riddle score marks.
Are they not on there?
No, I just was looking, glancing at that,
Good catch.
because we're doing it on the other ones.
Yeah, we might as well bring it in for consistency. All right, Gordon, I'll make that change on that detail, just noting the radial score marks. I'll get it over to you for the next meeting. All right, any other questions on the, or comments on the miscellaneous corrections?
Eugene, what about going back to that detail?
Which one?
One I was just on there, that one there, 441. Just to be consistent, on the left side you got VIT clay pipe, and then on the right side you got VCP. Maybe we should just always call it VCP to be consistent.
Well, oh wait, I guess I can't see it from.
It's like in the middle right there. Yeah. There on the right, and then on the left, similar location, it says VIT clay pipe. So it's just referencing the same pipe with different nomenclature.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I see it now.
I mean, since if you're going to make any changes on here, I would just clean that up too, maybe. So.
Good point. Thank you, Jim.
Or we could maybe add the abbreviation after the first instance so people know what that VCP means.
Okay. Thank you, Jim. All right. Move into agenda item number 6, which is case 24-04. This is remove the details 302-1, 302-2, joint restraints with tie rods. This was proposed by Glendale to remove in its entirety. Both sheets are related. I haven't got any negative pushback on that. I think everybody's on board. It is up for possible action. Does anybody have any comments on, or is anybody opposed to not deleting this 302-1 and 302-2? No comments. We could move it in for action. I mean, it's up for action, right, Gordon? Yeah, I'll entertain a motion to delete if anybody wants to motion.
I'll motion, Gene.
Thank you, Craig. Can I get a second motion from anyone?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Dan.
Okay, the roll call vote, again, starting with ADOT,
Yes.
Avondale,
Yes.
Buckeye,
Okay, as a yes?
Chandler,
Yes.
El Mirage, Lawrence.
Yes.
El Mirage was yes. Lawrence? Not present. Gilbert?
Yes.
Glendale?
Yes.
Goodyear? Not present. Maricopa County?
Yes.
Mesa?
Yes.
Peoria? Phoenix?
Yes.
Surprise?
Yes.
Anyone from Tempe here yet? No Tempe, Youngtown? No Youngtown.
So you skip Scottsdale. Scottsdale's a yes.
Did I skip Scottsdale? Thank you. Thank you, Roy. So that's unanimous. Thanks.
Thank you, Gordon. I appreciate everybody's assistance. We had a long break, an extra week, so everybody's a little rusty. All right, we'll go ahead and move into agenda item number 7, which is case 24-05, revised section 631.3.5 and add new detail 341. This is specific to the poly wrapping of ductile iron pipe when utilizing a tapping saddle or tapping coupling. Just a quick background on this. The AWWA, I think it's C10. Well, I'm not going to quote it because I don't have it in front of me, but it does not cover tapping saddles or tapping couplings. So what I'm proposing here is that we do a little bit of a revision. I'm not the one question I have, though, the biggest question I have is if you go to page 2, yep, right there, the comment I had added the 3/4 through 2 inch to the top because I mean we use up to 2 inches all copper in Glendale, and I assume that's pretty standard across the industry. So I'd like to incorporate that with up to 2 inch, and then also toward the end, I have a note right at the end of the paragraph. Service lines, tapping saddles, and tapping couplings of dissimilar metals shall be wrapped with polyethylene or suitable dielectric tape for a minimum clear distance of 3 feet away from the ductile iron pipe. That's something that's out of AWWA. That's also supported by the Ductile Iron Pipe Research Association. So where I'm struggling is if I keep that in the body of the text here, or if I move it to the actual detail itself as a note. Now, Gordon, if you want to go to the detail, 341, I kind of threw it in there as a question whether I should leave it there or not. I have this set up as steps or notes. I kind of prefer it being as steps. I wanted to get a little bit of feedback from the committee on that. The note, if we add a note, the note could be the one that's highlighted in blue or bubbled in blue there that's written in red. I'd have to find room to put it in there, but that's fine.
Notes / process, notes / steps.
So they are steps,
Yeah.
but then does anybody have any opinion on that note that I have bubbled in blue, whether we should keep it in the text or if it should be on this detail? I personally think it should be in the text portion.
So
So
go
go
ahead.
ahead, Chris.
I was gonna say from this distance, what does the note say?
It says service lines, tapping saddles, and tapping couplings of dissimilar metals shall be wrapped with polyethylene or suitable dielectric tape for a minimum clear distance of 3 foot away from the ductile iron pipe.
Yeah, that, okay. Typically what I've seen when you're in the field, when you've got a dimension, it's always nice to have it on a picture.
It is.
Because
Agreed.
it's there, you can really not mess it up because it's on the picture.
The only
Thank-
thing is, you don't even need to mention the dissimilar metals because it's always gonna be dissimilar metals, right?
No, not if it's PVC or plastic
Oh, that's
or PEX.
But even on
But
that
this is-
wire,
this
you
is-
have stainless steel sleeve.
But this will
Hey,
be
Mike.
for ductile iron pipe, right?
Well, yes, but the service line would be the dissimilar metal. If the service line is PEX, it doesn't matter.
Still not have a metallic tap.
Yes.
You would still
brass-
have,
brass double saddle.
you would still have the tapping coupling or the tapping saddle, but the service line would not need to be wrapped 3 feet away from the main line. Because right now, the lateral needs to be wrapped.
Talking the pipe.
The lateral, yeah,
So it will probably, so in my opinion, I like the text to be in the text. It's kind of a long note. But it probably wouldn't hurt to have it shown physically that the
Yeah, you could
dimensions
dimension it, 3 feet wrap and then put it in the
That's
text.
just showing, that's showing.
Kind of have it in
wrap
both.
tab.
I know we don't like doing that because then if one changes, now we got to remember to change both.
and not
But I
necessarily
do-
the text verbatim, but kind of something that matches, right?
Gene, I've got a question for you if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
So in the notes that you're referring to that's up on the screen here, it says service lines, tapping saddles, and tapping couplings of dissimilar metals shall be wrapped. Are you wrapping the service line? Because that's what the note says.
Yeah, you'll be wrapping the tapping saddle or tapping coupling and the service line.
Okay, so the main line that you're tapping into doesn't get wrapped at all?
Well, yes, under polywrap, another portion of MAG, the ductile iron pipe is required to be polywrapped.
Okay, so that's covered under the standard specification.
That's
This
correct.
specification is talking about wrapping just the coupling itself or the saddle itself then.
How to properly install a tapping saddle or tapping coupling and service line, correct? For a service line. So the detail,
Okay, and the picture that's shown there, for example, in step 3. Now, this is not my area of expertise, and I fully acknowledge that here, but it looks like you've got poly wrap on the pipeline, and then it looks like you've got dielectric tape or something like that over the poly wrap, but you're not wrapping the saddle itself, you're wrapping the pipeline.
so.
Am I misunderstanding?
No, this is in preparation for the saddle. This detail is in preparation to mate the saddle to the main line. So your step 1 would be to wrap 2 or 3 wraps of approved 10 mil tape, as noted under the notes there, under where it says steps question. It's number 1 on the main line. Then after that, you move to step 2, which would be you cut out where the gasket would seal against the ductile iron pipe. Then you mount the tapping saddle, and the whole idea here is to insulate any of those dissimilar metals from the ductile iron pipe.
Right. So again, that goes back to my first question was, it doesn't look like the saddle itself is taped with anything. It's the pipe itself that's being taped, but your note that's listed under step 1 says that if you literally read what it says the service line shall be wrapped. Or
Yes.
the tapping saddle shall be wrapped. But the pictures are showing that the pipeline's wrapped where the service saddle goes.
Correct. So
it says something different than what.
yeah, I understand where your confusion's coming from. That's why I think it would be best, well, on the tails of that, I think it would be best to keep these notes in the text body of the publication and out of the detail. Once the saddle is installed properly, as in step 3, the picture in step 3, then that's when the service line, the corporation stop, the service line can be installed. Then that's where you tape up the whole entire apparatus or the whole entire connection, and you poly wrap up to 3 feet away from the main line. Does that make sense?
It does. So the note that's listed there under step 1 is separate from and in addition to, basically that's a step 4 or 5.
Correct. Thank
I
you.
see. Yeah. So I was thinking that the note that you have there was trying to state the same thing, but wasn't stating the same thing as your steps 1, 2, 3. So
Right.
that was my confusion. Okay. Thanks for clarifying.
I had missed it too. It's probably important to clarify that there is a step 4 that even when it's gonna be a plastic line, you will still then come in and poly wrap the saddle itself.
You would, because it's a dissimilar metal. And it's stated in there that service lines, tapping saddles, and tapping couplings of dissimilar metals shall be wrapped with polyethylene or suitable dielectric.
But the 3-foot extension is only needed when the service line itself
Is a
different.
dissimilar metal. Yes, exactly.
We might
Yeah,
have to
but-
provide some different scenarios on another
Yeah.
detail sheet that might.
Since when did brass and ductile iron have conductivity or corrosion or anything else? I mean,
Well,
I've been doing brass next to ductile for
Paul, let's
My
answer
career.
that. Go ahead and scroll down. Gordon,
If you put a tapping sleeve on that hole and it's not cut out enough for that gasket to hit the pipe, you've got a leak.
and that's addressed in here. Well, that's what happens when it's not wrapped properly. And quite honestly, Glendale's spending a lot of money digging up stuff from early 2000 that wasn't installed properly. You have two dissimilar metals, you have electrolysis going on.
When has brass ever had electrolysis with ductile? I have never heard of that, and I've been
There's-
putting brass on ductile for 20 years.
There's the evidence of.
I don't
after
see that.
20
I
years.
see that there's a pinhole causing a leak there or something, but I don't see that brass caused that.
Scroll up a little bit, Gordon, a little bit more, right there. That's exactly where the saddle sat. That's where the band's wrapped around on
No
the saddle.
kidding.
Yep.
Now, is that ductile or cast?
That's ductile iron pipe.
Huh.
So what had happened, and this is against everything that AWWA and DIPRA recommend, but what happened on this exact scenario, I was out there for this, the poly wrap was cut open. I was there for the investigation portion after the leak, not for the install. The poly wrap was pulled back, the saddle was mounted, and that was it. The saddle was mounted directly to the ductile iron pipe, and both, like I said, they don't recommend that. Either publication does not recommend that material touching the pipe.
That pipe was poly wrap?
It was, but it was cut for the service.
Just so that for the installation, and then it wasn't restored.
Right. And for the entire gasket, if you go back to the detail real quick, Gordon. Accurately cut and remove a circle
Yeah.
where the saddle or coupling gasket will contact and seal the ductile iron pipe. And then the entire gasket must make contact. It's got to make contact with the surface of the ductile iron pipe, or you're correct, you will have a leak.
That is just a goofy installation. I'm gonna say that that's. To see that happen in the field would be very good.
Well, I mean, I can bring you out next time we dig one up.
And your inspectors don't illustrate it or teach it or show how to do it. They're basically cut a hole, this kind, it's very confusing. I just ran into it. I had 2 leaks, search for a week, and it was because of that. When actually we tightened up the brass, it actually moved the plastic. So your hole being a circle turns into an oval, and now you have gasket on plastic. And then it created that. It's more of a, you know what I'm saying? It's not, you're not, the inspector's not explaining it correctly. I understand what you're doing, dissimilar metals, but it's not being explained very right. It is creating leaks.
Yeah, I can't speak for any other municipalities. I can speak for Glendale. We do our best to educate at land development projects, at pre-construction meetings. Lately, we have not been getting any pushback. When we first introduced DIPRA, the Ductile Iron Pipe Research Association, they have a publication specific to this. Those pictures are right out of their publication. It's a copy and paste. And I initially got pushback, and now I'm not getting as much. We're kind of retraining, and the culture's starting to change where people are accepting this type of installation.
Well, I don't disagree with what you're trying to do. I see what you're trying to do, but maybe at a this happened to me in Glendale.
So
And
if we
maybe at
have
a
a detail, we can address it at the pre-con, and we'll have step-by-step instructions. So I think that'll
Or
help
even-
satisfy the contractor side.
Yeah, or just like whatever's out of the installed ductile iron manual type thing, say, hey, this is what we're looking for. So
Yep.
at least the guys out in the field have something.
And that's what's prompting this detail and this language change.
Um,
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, it's completely additional, but the detail is called tapping saddle and tapping coupling. I think as you're showing a tapping saddle right now, so I don't know, that's probably another scenario. Does have to be added.
Yeah, tap installation or something, so kind of covers them both.
I'm not sure if there's still municipalities doing direct tapping. saddle.
Well, yeah, that's another one straight out of DIPRA that was basically a copy and paste out of DIPRA.
Yeah, but we have the picture there for.
Yeah, that's a direct tap, and there with the direct tap, they do the same thing. They require 2 to 3 wraps of approved adhesive tape completely around the polyethylene encased pipe. Then they cut it open, and that's in the AWWA. They show how to cut it open, and then you drill a direct tap with a specific machine.
So they do also cut the tape on this application?
Yeah, they cut an X in the tape
Okay,
so that they can access through the tape,
also it doesn't rip the tape when you're,
and then up to 3 feet away on dissimilar metals for the protection.
When you say dissimilar metals, how does that? I mean, I know you got galvanized, you got ductile, you got brass, you've got ductile, so those are dissimilar because they're not the same.
Exactly.
But all dissimilar metals don't do conductivity. I mean,
Okay, well, when
I
in doubt,
just-
wrap it.
So like. I've done a lot of ductile iron without polymer. It's been around a long time. And I've done a lot of brass saddles directly onto that, and I mean, it's just. You would think this town would be coming apart if this was a huge problem. I have not seen the problem. I mean, I've been doing it for 40 years. I'm confused why this.
Well, it could be the soil conditions too, a lot of other factors, yeah, yeah.
For sure.
Yeah,
That
absolutely.
might
Exacerbate
also
it.
wonder if you might
Is
have
that
high
to keep the
voltage
dirt?
around.
That's just to keep the
Yeah.
dirt off the pipe, right?
It's true too.
So
Basically,
Making
or
the
the-
soil more-
the metals from not touching
No.
each other.
No. It's to keep the metals from not touching each other for one, and it's to not allow fresh moisture or fresh water molecules that contain oxygen into the area. So ABC with the pH and resistivity on ABC, you have a winning chance. But if you have contaminated ABC, or depending on what that pH and resistivity is, that could help facilitate this electrolysis and speed up the whole process. So this, the Ductile Iron Pipe Research Association is there to protect ductile iron pipe.
Mhm.
And this is straight out of their publication. And I'm just not calling out the Ductile Iron Pipe Research Association in the detail. I thought about doing that, but we decided as a committee that we would leave that out and write our new detail. And they've reviewed it. The Ductile Iron Pipe Research Association, who chairs the AWWA, they reviewed what I have here and they're on board with it. There's no copyright plagiarism, any kind of issues like that. They helped me develop this detail. They assisted.
Paul, I'm hearing we're having some similar failures in Chandler too, so.
Well, I know Fashion Square Mall is a really good example of what happens in water lines.
Oh, really?
It all just crumbled and fell.
So my question to the committee is do you feel as a committee, is anybody opposed to the notes being bubbled in blue to be moved into the general text portion of the publication as shown on 631.3.5 under service taps?
No opposition. What, were you thinking of adding a second page maybe to show a couple other details for the service connections and mapping?
I could. I wasn't thinking of doing that. Yeah, I was thinking, let's get this thing. Yeah, like this with the dissimilar metal comment, but we can definitely explore that.
help the actual have the different depiction of how these things.
So
I can
just,
see how it's so.
you would have the main line, you'd have the saddle tap, and then you'd show 3 foot away, and then you'd show that it was wrapped as well.
Yes,
You may have
but
room on this particular detail, which
Shrink everything down. This detail, all these pictures will be drawn up in CAD after the fact. These are just quick illustrations. Didn't want to put a bunch of CAD work into something that wasn't gonna hold any
yeah,
ground.
just for my mind, I would definitely appreciate to have a detail that shows that you still wrap the saddle after installation, and you would just extend it when it's not.
Okay, I was hoping that note would cover that, but I totally value your input.
So Gene, I like where the detail's going from where it started. I think we're in the right direction here. So I'll get this in front of my water resources group. They're the ones that will be dealing with it a lot more. And if there's any comments, I'll let you know. But I do think we're going the right direction with it now.
Thank you for that, Ryan.
Gene, one thing I was thinking about this is I'm hearing Paul's concerns with this is the amount of time that this is going to take field. I think definitely a second detail would help. Something that really makes it clear. So when you get out there, these guys know exactly what they need to do, and it's a one and done because it's going to take time.
Yeah, no, I see both your points. That way it's not, oh, by the way, over here in
Exactly.
this language, it has you doing this.
Exactly.
Okay.
I've worked with a lot of contractors, and as long as they know up front what they need to
They
do,
can charge
they'll
accordingly.
do it.
Yeah.
It's going back that they really have a lot of heartburn up.
One other suggestion, Mr. Chair, beyond this case, but reading that paragraph, I think there's some old language in this paragraph. In the 631.3.5 service taps. I think the water and sewer working group should revisit this whole paragraph and maybe see if there's any, I think some of those are not current. In particular, service connections, all sizes, pipe, including 3-inch pipe in cul-de-sac streets. I think most of our streets have 6-inch.
Yeah, we don't use 3-inch in
So
Glendale.
and then you get down, and I think we have the Mueller type B tapping machine. I'm not sure.
Yeah, Mueller type B.
That's to take out manufacturers.
Well, I don't know if that's the standard, or
That is a standard. I believe that's out of AWWA. I can verify.
and I think our Chandler service detail talks about the bronze saddle for 6-inch and smaller, and then 6-inch and greater. It's a double band. Maybe I can't remember, but I don't think we use double band versus heavy duty. I'm not sure if that's standard anymore.
Yeah.
Double strap starts.
Yeah, double band of bronze saddle
Yeah,
is a
Yeah,
typical.
There's the double band bronze. There's the
Yeah.
stainless steel band.
Yep.
That's what
Well,
we.
it's-
which is
Stainless steel is for PVC pipe.
Yeah, well, you can use stainless steel on ductile. At least,
you have to use electrolysis protectors on the pipes and stuff.
yes.
Those things still does.
So
the tap, I think the tap and saddle or coupling should be up to the municipality. Obviously, I don't want to call out a specific tap and saddle, but I think it'd be crucial for me to revisit my calendar and try to get into one of these water sewer working groups, especially with this case. I don't want to I can't solve everything here. So either that or we'll be here till 5 o'clock.
No. Well, we need
I like that.
our internal groups to review this and help.
definitely,
Yeah.
definitely.
Okay.
Great start though.
Well, thank you. All right. Let's move into the next one here. This will be agenda item number 8, case 24-06, update detail 345-2. This is 4-inch, 6-inch water meters with on-site fire hydrants. This is another one that I brought up. If I can find it here, there it is. All right. So this one I did receive some feedback on. First of all, I want to mention that 345-2 is also tied to, I didn't realize it initially, but then I found it was tied to 345-1. All the notes on 345- reference back to the notes that are on 345-2 under the legend. So what I'd like to do is remove, all these are outdated, the Rockwell Series W, Hershey, all that. Everything's been bought out. A lot of things have changed. So I suggested meter manufacturer and meter type is at the discretion of the agency, governing agency. I did get some feedback from, I believe it was Gilbert. Yep, in the town of Gilbert. They're suggesting for note number 5, which I can incorporate for the next go around if everybody thinks that we're on the right track. Water meter manufacturers at the discretion of the owner agency. Meters shall be purchased from an owner agency approved vendor, distributor, and installed per manufacturer specification. I think that language is pretty clean. I like that. Getting a lot of nods, yeses. Note 12 same thing, water meter manufacturers at the discretion of the owner agency shall be FM and UL approved. Meter shall be purchased from owner agency, approved vendor, distributor, and installed per manufacturer specifications. I like that language. I'm gonna get that updated onto this one to get it distributed to the group. Either that or we're gonna be running around looking for a Hershey's Series V or a Rockwell Series W.
So
Anybody?
This is Roy.
Go ahead, Roy.
Would we also have the same conflicts with that note number 8, where we're also calling out, looks like specific types?
Yeah,
with the
no,
Hershey's.
you're correct. Note number 8.
Hershey.
One. Yeah, I'm gonna have to move some notes around. The initial, these things get bigger as they go. Initially, it was just scratch out the manufacturer so we can use other manufacturers, being that these were bought out and everything else, but they just grow and grow. All right, I'll keep working on that one. Thank you, Roy, for that. That was an astute observation there.
You know, and it says 4.6 water meter with on-site fire hydrants. I mean, shouldn't all that be in the out of right-of-way book? Are these vaults in the right-of-way?
So I can't speak for everybody, but this would not be in Glendale's right away.
I don't know if anybody has those in the right-of-way.
Glendale doesn't meter per se
Private
fire hydrants, but other municipalities may, and we need to be kind of inclusive when it comes to all municipalities.
Okay, just curious. This seems like an out of right-of-way. This detail has caused so much havoc in this industry over the years because contractors misinterpret that MAG is the thing, and so they go buy all this stuff and put it in and find out the city's going to supply it. You know, there's big confusion in meter vaults construction between agents. Happened to me in Phoenix.
Yeah, no.
Yeah,
We'll do backflows on private systems, private hydrant systems, but they're not metered. Now our city engineer came from another municipality out of state. They metered all theirs because of water theft. So I don't know if other agencies are doing that and why they're doing that, but I'll make those revisions on there, distribute it. I don't know if it would be appropriate to delete everything. I would just like to remove the actual manufacturers.
Yeah.
Any other comments from the committee?
Just to follow up on Paul's question, the other issue is that the detail before it, like he was mentioning, refers to the legend on here. So if you were to move this detail to the other book, you would still need to at least copy the legend onto the other detail or leave the legend on this detail.
Yeah, for the water meter.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Any other comments or questions from the committee and our online viewers? Or participants, I should say. All right. Hearing none, we're going to go ahead and move into agenda item number 9. This is case 24-07, remove detail 389 curb stop with valve box cover. This detail here that Gordon's going to pull up is obsolete as far as I'm concerned. After I started digging into it, it's, in my opinion, it's better just to delete it altogether. This is for interaction between basically from cast iron pipe, which is no longer used, and ACP, asbestos concrete pipe, and the connection in between with galvanized pipe. So my water D guys, my water distribution team said, nope, won't ever do it. We'll cut it out, put in ductile iron and call it done. We're not doing any of that. So I'd like everybody to take a look at it, at this detail in particular, get with their water distribution team and their engineering team and see if we're on board to delete this in its entirety. Any questions on detail 389 that's pulled up on the screen? I'm gonna roll today. 3 in a row. All right, now I can take a breath. Let's move into agenda item number 10. This is case 24-08, revised section 321, 326 for paving temperatures. We have Greg on the line.
Yes, I'm here, Mr. Chairman.
Great, Greg, you bailed me out, buddy.
Okay, no, no,
You
no
wanna-
problem.
I appreciate it.
No problem. So, the latest revision here is, you see here is from the 17th, post our last working group meeting. We think we cleaned up the language, to be a kind of amenable there as far as the additive piece of this. So, I guess if everybody could take that back, and I haven't received any comments, but it's just been in the packet kind of this time, so, we'll see where this one kind of takes it. We just kind of cleaned it up to say that if they accept it, we're kind of waiving the mixed design portion of it, and that and then still at the end putting in there that it will bear no additional cost to the owner if accepted by the engineer. And this is also consistent on the next page. If Gordon, if you'll roll up one where section 326 is also amended to be the same there. The only difference between the two is the corresponding sections of 710 and 719 as they correlate to 321 and 326.
Hi, Greg, this is Jose with Phoenix.
Yes, sir.
I think the only comment I would have is, at least from my recollection from the materials working group, I would just say that on the, I guess, the third sentence, by approving the use of the warm mix additive for the purpose of compactive aid at lower temperature, the engineer may waive.
Okay.
Waive.
Well, I think what we were saying, I think the reason why we left it as shall, because if they approved it in the first place, we were going to waive that requirement.
I thought that was always at the discretion of the engineer, right?
Well, I suppose it is, but it doesn't have to be approved in the first place based on this. I thought this was the consensus that we had kind of come to, that if they didn't want to allow it, it wasn't going to be, if they wanted to allow it, it didn't have to, but I suppose we can change that to may. I don't know that it has really any real difference there either way.
Yeah, because I think the intent is the engineer can consider the use of it, and it's just to guide that you don't have to have it in the mix design.
Correct. We were just thinking that if they approved it, I understand your point too. I'll make the corrections on both.
And then just the other comment is after section 719, looks like that needs to be a period, not a comma. Or a lowercase.
Geez, I can't tell if that is or not. I'll have to pull up the Word document to see that one. Is that, yeah, can you zoom in there, Gordon? Is it a typo there on the, oh, it is a comma. Okay, we'll change that too.
Same thing on the other one, 321 or section 710.
I'll blow up that one too, because that one. Geez, okay. We will fix both of those.
Hey, Greg, this is Craig at Buckeye.
Yes, sir.
Maybe you went over this, but could you kind of give a higher review of why are we going from a 40 to a 50-degree ambient?
Because what is happening is the 10-degree differential there that has gone on is there's been many contractors that contractually the owner's telling them that it's 40 degrees and rising and they should pave. They don't feel that they have the best opportunity to get density under such conditions, that 50 is a much better barometer for them to provide a quality product. It gets, I can't say that I would necessarily disagree. 40 is pretty cold anymore, especially when we're talking about 40 degrees and rising. Is it windy also? There's a lot of things that I know that are supposed to be in here. But they just feel for overall quality of product that should be a minimum of 50 and not 40.
Okay, so there, you guys haven't seen anything in the field that's causing issues or anything like that?
No, I mean, I think you can almost relate a lot of compaction problems in that January, February, or even December, just, the early year paving. You can get some pretty spotty compaction results when you see those extra cold days, as opposed to they have no safeguard. They're saying, well, it's 40 degrees and rising. You guys have to pave. and where does it go from there?
Craig, in Avondale, we've had some issues with that, so I'm definitely in favor of doing this. It's just too close. I mean, you're only 8 degrees away from freezing, so.
Yeah, no, I totally follow. I'm just thinking about some time I've spent up in Flag where we've actually been on site with a thermometer waiting to hit 40 so they can get started. 50, even in March and April, you don't get that sometimes. So totally understanding waiting for the weather. But
And you don't, Craig, but typically like in the Flagstaff area though too, they don't use as stiff a binder as we do down here in the valley either.
So real quick question, Greg, how does this affect, or does it may not even affect, the EVAC guys?
Actually, when they come around this year, that's part of the reason why this language is in here for the reduction. He is looking at doing EVAC is looking at doing the same thing as far as the inclusion of an additive to allow the cooler temperatures as well. Without an additive, it's going to be 50.
Okay, one other question for you, Greg. ADOT, is the 40 degrees consistent with ADOT standard, just for sake of conversation? Or are they at 50 degrees, or where is the ADOT? I haven't read ADOT since.
Well, you gotta, so the deal with them, a lot of them, like when you get into end product type mixes, it's basically at risk. So it's a little bit different. Then it's up to the contractor to decide.
Okay. Fair enough. Anybody else have any questions for Greg on this particular case? All right. Hearing none, we're going to move into agenda item number 11. This is case 24-09, revised section 710, asphalt concrete and allow liquid anti-strip. This also is through Greg and the asphalt working group.
Yep. Thank you again, Mr. Chairman. So this first page here, that's kind of been the same for the last little bit. Gordon, if you can roll up to 710-3. Right there. So again, this was kind of where we went at the last working group meeting. There's still a furthering discussion around this one as to should we continue on basically this paragraph right below the table there. This table was updated saying that it must meet one of these requirements. The section below there with the asterisk, when you use the liquid anti-strip, we are gathering data on that one to see what it looks like, to see if this paragraph kind of needs to still remain, as opposed to possibly changing the minimum strengths requirements from 100 up. So what we were trying to do is collect a bunch of data and to talk about that at the next working group meeting to see what that might look like as well. So for right now, it's basically 90% of the historical. The thought was, well, if we gathered enough data from all the different suppliers, and so the minimum strength requirement in MAG right now is 100 PSI. The thought was if we collect a bunch of data and the historical averages currently without a additive, a liquid anti-strip, just a regular admixture, if all of them were on average, let's say north of 125 PSI, should this not be in there? Should we take this piece out and just raise the dry strength minimum from 100 to 125? And that we're still vetting that.
Open up the discussion.
Jim, did you have a question, Jim?
for oversight installation case. Update section 602 to include other casing materials, mechanical component steel casing, and centrifugally cast fiberglass reinforced polymer mortars. Polymer mortar casing. This is Arvid. Do we have Arvid on the line?
Yes, I'm here.
Thank you, sir. Go ahead.
Yep, I haven't heard anything back from anybody. Other than what we presented at last month's meeting. And this is again, just adding in material options for the agencies to select from, depending on their projects. They can also just, as many of them do when they're in design stages, they can just say reference 602 for the steel casing or for the casing material of choice. It again is it's so dependent on the soil conditions, and without a geotech, which is more often than not, we don't have a geotech. We're out there putting something in the ground that we can install, but sometimes we could have done it differently and used a different piece of equipment. So again, this is just giving the options for casing material options to be in the spec going forward.
You know, with the materials technologies changing and advancing constantly, I think it's definitely a great gesture to start it, and I like the direction it's going.
Yep. Okay. I appreciate that. Yeah. So just let me know if anybody has any questions. I know Gordon made some changes after the last meeting.
Well, I'll open it up for discussion in this group if there's any questions or comments related to this one. Hearing none, I'm going to go ahead and move into agenda item number 13, case 24-11, revised section 621, 760, and 771 related to corrugated metal pipe, which is also known as CMP. So there are some major revisions. This one I think is sponsored. This one's sponsored by City of Phoenix, Jose Rodriguez. You want to go ahead and start with that?
Yeah, thanks everyone. So this case actually is there you go. Something that started out of the right away group. And they were already looking to update the specifications for CMP that reside in section 621. So really this effort is really updating everything to the current available material coatings in the Phoenix market, and incorporating their later specifications, mainly based on AASHTO. There's several changes on the section 621 and 760 related to section 771. That's the simplest change, as that is only removing the galvanization requirement from that section of the spec, as that's already incorporated into the AASHTO requirements for the production of this pipe. So that's probably the simpler change. Everything else is just removing outdated references to bituminous coated pipes and incorporating also the potential to use polymer coated pipe, which is probably the more of the Cadillac version of CMP. So.
Thank you, Jose.
Yeah, I didn't want to go. There's a lot of changes I don't want to consume.
Yeah.
But we've gone back and forth, and I think Gordon added all the changes that we've kind of captured through this effort. I'd like to first at least let the committee take a chance to review some of these changes and have more discussion either water or sewer working group or at the next MAC meeting.
Just a very high level question. Did you change anything related to a minimum gauge size, or was it kind of, did you revise the gauges?
So because the minimum gauges are very specific to the site conditions, we did add some language to kind of reinforce that designers need to do a better job of understand the site conditions to be able to call out and specifically provide those requirements in the project plans. Not only because I see it often, right? That designers only call out 24-inch CMP pipe, but they're supposed to be calling out corrugation, minimum gauge, the type of material, a coating if it's required, because all that stuff needs to be analyzed ahead of time. So.
This is a new case that has a lot going on with it. It really does. It's gonna take, these committee members some time to dig into it and go through it. I encourage all of you to read the notes and peck through it. Because this is definitely gonna be on the horizon. I don't know if it's this year or next year, but we'll be eventually entertaining to move this forward. So start your catch up now.
Yeah, and as I was doing this research, I did notice that there's a lot of municipalities that already moved away from allowing CMP in the right of way. Nonetheless, it's coming into the outside right of way, right? So
Right.
I drive by and I see a lot of storage tanks that are CMP. So the better we can improve the specs.
I see a lot of rehab on CMP.
Yes, I've seen ones that have been dug up already and didn't seem to be that long ago that they were put in.
So Jose, is this going to apply then to the large diameter stuff for the underground stormwater detention systems? I know that's kind of going to be in the outside right of way group, but are we going to basically use the same updates? If they end up allowing CMP in that area?
Yes. The only thing is the specs currently reside in the section 621. We want to make sure those specs are updated. But in essence, most of the use is going to be outside of the right of way. But this specifications is going to address both, not only the material specification updates, but the construction requirement updates.
Okay, and I kind of echo what I think Warren said. I think that we should all look at the gauge thickness on this stuff. I've seen some of it go in, and it's almost like tin cans. This stuff it crushes with very little force. It just seems too fragile. And I know the backfills all was what makes the difference, but I mean just the material by itself is. We should look at increasing those gauges as well.
Yeah, and you were a key point, Jim. I mean, the backfill plays a major role in this, and previously there was nothing related to that. So we've also added something to align a minimum pH and resistivity requirement to this, because that's part of why some of this material fails. So
are you guys is it addressing the I guess the haunching zones as well on like a 96-inch or something that big?
Not to that level of detail, but that's something we can look at as far as the placement of it, or
yeah, and how to properly haunch the big 96 diameter, the larger diameters that are over 48-inch, whether that's a pea gravel or that's what material that is.
I think that's in there. I'll get with you. I'm pretty sure that's.
I'm not sure that, because that's probably something that actually is more on 601 than it is on 621.
Okay.
But I do not know if if it addresses that large of a pipe.
The failures I've seen and experienced, and that's just my personal experience, is related directly to backfill or the lack of filter fabric or whatever. When pea gravel's used, filter fabric's not being used. Next thing you know, you have gas pumps that are sitting sideways after a big rain.
From my personal experience, most of the issues that we had with CMP is just because the bottom of it starts giving away, and it just
yeah, that too. I've seen the
of that pipe is supposed to be the save-on corrugated metal, if you guys remember. It's aluminized. It's never going to deteriorate.
right until you cut it, till you nick it.
Except for the stuff that you brought it away and is gone.
Yeah.
Big part of that too. A big part of that too is there hasn't been requirements to test the actual backfill touching the pipe for pH and resistivity. So that's a huge change that we're proposing here.
Yeah, actually, Paul, when you look at the design guides that this manufacturer put together, they tell you the design life is really based on the pH and the resistivity of the material you use. So
that's typically been ignored for years. So yeah. Part of the problem.
All right, still open for discussion. Is there any other questions or comments related to this case? All right, hearing none, we're going to move to agenda item number 14. This is outside right-of-way cases carried forward from 2023. This is the 23-06. New vegetated or rock bioswales. This is sponsored by both Peter and Bashir with the outside right-of-way working group. We have there's Peter. I see him there. Thanks for joining us, Peter.
Yes, I'm not sure who else is on the call on this. In terms of what we have done, we did receive a series of comments, and they've been incorporated into this new revision. The specific locations, we were requested to look at adding additional language toward the check dam materials. Both it's in this detail and incorporated within the section, excuse me, that discusses check dams. Additional additions or modifications were made on the underdrain pipe. You now see that there's a reference to a geosynthetic fiber incorporated with that. That also, again, it's talked about in the discussions of the standard itself. I think we've captured most of the comments. I'm looking through that. So we've got the detail there. Then the standard has been revised equally to accommodate that. We had great review, 2 reviews that came on in. So what we'd request is that the committee and the members review the revised sections and see if we're there. I think we're pretty close now. This is the first significant comments we've gotten in quite a while. So please look at that and see if we've captured those, especially who come and see if it now makes more sense. We got a little typos out of there, even those kinds of things were found. But I think we're going to get pretty close there to getting a vote on this very soon.
Good. So Peter, when I review this, I usually go through the whole entire thing. What is there any kind of denotion or anything that shows the changes that are actually made, so I don't have to review the whole entire document?
Unfortunately, I didn't. I was traveling on one part, and City of Tempe was doing the other revision, so I don't have that. Let me do something for you. I will go ahead and put something together later this week that highlights where the changes are and what they are.
That would be helpful for the reviewing process, I think, for everybody. Or even a slight change in color in the text or something.
I'll probably just highlight it.
Yeah. Well, while Peter's making notes, I'm going to open it up for discussion for the group. I agree, Peter. It's close. I know I've had my team look at it and they're on board. I haven't got any negative feedback at all. So.
Yeah, as opposed to having to go back and forth and do 2 versions, let me go ahead and get you a highlighted version, and that may make it a little easier.
I did also receive from Eric Bonds in Tempe, not only this updated detail, but he had made some comments on, I think, Phoenix's red lines to kind of make some comments on why he chose to do certain things. So I can provide that as well.
Very good.
Yeah, once again, my Glendale team, they supported 100%. So you're heading in the right direction. I think we're close.
Yeah, again, we really appreciated the comments. It'd been a while since we had any, and so it was very good to finally get a real good critical read through of the section and the detail. And this one's kind of important because it's one of the linchpin ones as we get the rest of them moving forward.
Great. Any other questions or comments on this case? All right, hearing none, we're going to move to agenda item number 15, which is also an outside right-of-way case 23-10. This is the thermoform PVC drain basins. Peter, while you're still up there, can you give us an update on any changes that may have come about?
I was not in town to go through it, so I'm not sure what the changes are. Hopefully we have somebody on the call who was. I don't know.
I did not speak with Nick, but I'm presuming that this update incorporated the city of Phoenix comments that were redlined on there that Nick was planning to incorporate. That's fine.
Yeah, and short of that, I really don't know. I can still see a vendor reference in there. So I think we're gonna have to talk about this a little bit more at the next meeting, but we'll try to get a summary from Nick on what was changed. I know we had a series of comments incorporated. I couldn't tell you what they are.
So
Yeah.
Peter Warren, did we decide not to address the concrete strength for that cap portion, the adjustment portion or monument around, I'm sorry, the concrete portion around the inlet grate?
I thought we did talk about doing that, so
That was really one of the only comments that I had, was calling out a mag classification, maybe a mag A for that, if it's gonna be in a parking lot area.
yeah.
Yeah, I was at the outside right-of-way meeting and he did provide an update, and from what he told me, he did try and incorporate Phoenix's comments. He also provided an updated section 650. And I'm trying to remember if he was including the concrete type in the specifications. He may have.
Yeah, I think we're gonna need the same thing. What changes were made and where are they at?
Yeah. Yeah, it looks,
I did a quick look at it earlier today and I was having some challenges trying to find what was changed on there, so I wish I could address that.
Well, so there was a note also below that concrete apron that mentioned that thickness. It alluded to the thickness being variable or not set in stone at 8-inch. That note directly traffic loads, yeah. Was that the note that?
says actual concrete slab must be designed, taking into consideration local soil conditions, traffic loading, and other design factors.
And now shows a minimum 8-inch thickness,
Okay.
which in general, I'm pretty confident an 8 inches is probably going to be good. But we do need the strength strength shown on there, or at least referenced.
All your, aprons, ADA aprons and
Valley
road
gutters,
valley gutters, they're all what, 9-inch?
But yeah, we may want to move that up to 9 then. I kept thinking, yeah, let me go look. Well, we need to have the discussion in our next meeting.
Yeah, and I don't know if the load rating table is kind of related to that because it's referring to the load rating, but
Yeah. Yeah.
If
Yes.
you could sort those out with the outside of right away working group, that'd be great.
Yes.
Any other questions from the committee?
Yeah, I had one, Mr. Chairman. Back in the detail, it showed the connection to connector pipe. I think it said HDPE was shown, but I've seen PVC, smooth walled PVC used. We need to maybe create this where it can maybe accept different pipe materials.
Yes, and that was a comment. I was just looking through my comments from before and I saw that didn't get put in there because it's referencing a specific vendor also. So that was, I can see some of the intent. Again, my apologies for not being able to be there last meeting. It did not come through. So you're correct. That's one of the things I had on my list that didn't happen.
Yeah, last time we used that same exact drain basin. We used the HDPE, corrugated HDPE coming out of it, but you're correct, Jim. There should have the option of using PVC. I don't know what that connection looks like, but
or even solid wall HDPE.
Yeah.
which is actually stronger than all the rest.
Yeah, because I've seen a lot of these in the private parking lots, and you know they'll run smaller pipes, 6 and 8 inch, and they're all PVC pipe, you know, not
Yeah.
HDPE. So
Yeah, like I said, that whole paragraph or that whole note was supposed to have been changed, and I was checking my last comments, and it was 2 meetings ago. So let me work with the folks at the next working group meeting, see if we can get that fixed.
I'll check my emails too, because I do remember at one point he was saying he's having issues with his time for his drafter to do work on it. So he just never got around to those updates yet.
Yeah, that's what it's looking like, because I know we've discussed that, and he took pictures of the notes we were doing in the meetings. We had the group meeting together, and I can see those ones didn't get it.
And just a note to the entire team, the entire committee is this isn't just specific for private property, but I use the same application in a police parking lot expansion, and we use the exact same drain basin. So and that was a capital improvement project. So it's not just specific to private development. It would be for municipal development on site as well. But it's still outside of the right of way. Thank you, Craig.
Yeah. I think we need to work on this one just a little bit more and get the revisions up to where we talked about it a couple months ago, and resubmit this in July, hopefully.
And I'll talk to Nick as well and maybe suggest he attends the next meeting as a.
Yeah, that would definitely be helpful because he's the expert on this stuff.
Great. Thanks.
All right. Thank you, guys. Don't go anywhere, Peter.
Oh.
New outside right-of-way case for 2024. This is 24-A. Retention basin spillway details 510-1.
Yeah, fine.
2 and move detail 227. You want to give us a quick update on this one, Peter?
On this one, I'm still awaiting comments. Haven't gotten any so far. So it's, one part of it is the spillway that ties the sediment trap that we'd already have in the existing MAG standards, and then moving that detail to the outside right of way. That's part of it. So we are awaiting comments.
Well, I'm going to be quite candid. I haven't gone over this one, so I'll go over it ASAP, and I'll get you any comments that I may have, Peter.
Okay, very good. I've actually been running around between vacations. I actually start taking some pictures of some, and I may even modify my own recommendations on some of this, on the geometry, after looking at what's more standard in the ground. And some of that geometry is a little rectangular, and I'm noticing there that most of these spillways do not have a rectangular cross section.
Okay.
So now that I'm back from vacation, I'll start working on this one too.
All right.
You're not alone on this.
Yeah, I haven't even put any time into it, but I will, I promise.
Thank you.
Any other committee members have any comments on this one, or want to discuss anything related to this detail? Or this case, I should say. All right. We'll go ahead and move into agenda item number 17. This is outside of right-of-way 24-B, move detail 346, fire line detector vault from MAG to the outside of right-of-way book. This one here, also, I think that's a no-brainer to move it over. We are looking at correcting some of these notes on this one. If you notice, we'll start at the top under notes. Cast iron pipe. I'm proposing to change that to ductile iron pipe. I think that makes perfect sense. Note 3 references detail 314, which doesn't exist. It needs to reference 310, 315, and 319. Note 5 for the check valve to be Globe Model A, Grinnell, Hershey, Model DC Viking. A lot of those manufacturers, once again, have changed. I had originally looked at where I drug that arrow down. Manufacturer of the flange swing check valve is at the discretion of the owner and agency. I think I'm gonna incorporate, I would like to modify that a little bit next go round, basically state check valve manufacturers at the discretion of the owner agency shall be FM and UL approved, similar to the Goodyear, I think it was Goodyear the comments I got from them. Check valves shall be purchased from owner operator, or I'm sorry, should be purchased from an owner agency approved vendor or distributor and installed per manufacturer recommendation. The other one, note 8, called for 30 pounds of asphalt roofing felt. We need to get into the new millennium here and use polywrap. The other illustration on the section A-A at the bottom there, ductile iron pipe. It calls out CIP, change that to DIP. But does anybody have any questions or comments on this detail? I think it's appropriate to move it to the outside of right of way.
Yeah, Gene, as I was just looking through this, underneath the plan view below cover, the upper left-hand corner there, at the 5/8 Ford Golf box.
Yep.
I mean, it's another manufacturer that we want to get rid of.
It is.
And just below that, in the section BB at the very top, it's the Badger Meter Company, Readomatic. You know, that's another one. I
Yeah.
don't even know if they're around. Yeah. So yeah, this is revised last in 98, and before that, probably revised in 1814.
1814, that's probably right.
So
The
no,
golf box,
I see a lot of these, but
the,
yeah,
the golf box is interesting. I did a little research on that. There's not very many options there, but I could call out, instead of calling out a Ford golf box, we can call out more of a general description of that box.
what is that box?
Well, that's a good question.
Maybe.
From what I can tell, it's for electronics of some sort. I need to dig more into that.
So could you use a J box?
Yeah, it looks like a J box, right? This is supposed, this is the meter.
Yeah, meter box, you know. I guess I'll kind of reach out to the contractors. Paul, I mean, if you ever installed
I've
anything like
only
this?
seen these been put in one place. Now it's on that big cloud building they build in Surprise. They have these on their feeds into the building, but you typically don't see this.
No, well, that,
Double check backflow preventers have in place with this.
yes,
now.
yes,
Plus,
yes.
most municipalities don't want buried things if they can have them above ground. When they see.
Yeah, you get confined space issues.
Easier service, you can see it. You can tell somebody's stealing water off of them, drive by and look at it.
How long ago did you see this installed? For the new,
All of them-
the new
all of
building?
them.
Okay.
Big building there, they have 4 big ones feeding that building, they're 12-inch.
Just happenstance that they use this detail, or do you think because it was available?
I mean, that's a good question. And their engineering department.
The only thing I can picture is this happen is like in a big downtown center where you have room to put an industrial building.
Then you gotta bury it.
Yeah, and you gotta bury it. Something that looks directly to like a basement feed or something.
Well, this is another one of those that just kind of grew on me. You know, it was when I saw that some of these manufacturers have either been bought out or don't exist anymore. That's when I started looking into it, but like I said, it just got bigger and bigger over time. Now, Paul, do you have any experience with the actual golf box? So I did a little quick research on that, and it was limited on options, but I'll look more into that and bring it back to the committee.
If I remember correctly, a couple of years ago, we actually talked about this one, and like you said, we talked about just getting rid of it and decided, well, maybe we're not going to talk about maybe moving it into the outside of right of way for now, keeping the detail, seeing what happens.
Yeah, see what we can do with it. I think that's a
Yeah, we're cleaning manufacturers, but I think it's a detail that nobody uses anymore, so
Right.
it's not a bad detail, but if we could throw it in the outside of right of way, because that's where it's gonna typically be used,
right.
so.
I think it's a good first step, cleaning up the things you're offering in this case, getting in the outside or right away, but I think a larger maybe working group to look at fire line plan,
Yeah, it's a
in
lot to,
details.
it's a lot for
all-
one man to
I know,
chew.
not one, yeah, so it's a larger group kind of effort later
Yeah.
to see what
Yeah.
maybe agency details we want to pull in, like double checks, things like that. down the road.
We will be talking about
So-
that hopefully later in this meeting on moving things to the outside right away. So hopefully we can look at some opportunities. One thing in terms of the notes where we've got reference to specific vendors, I would recommend looking at the option of just identifying like a meter box. You've already got the arrows, like check valves shown on the picture. The meter box is shown, the all of those are shown to show what the item is, and this have one single note that says check valve, this item, meter box shall be, and then you can just have that same standard note that references all of the items, so you're not repeating it over and over again.
Okay. But the check valve manufacturer is at the discretion of the owner agency type.
Check valve manufacturer, the meter box, and whatever the third one there is, read-o-matic register, just in one sentence, you don't have all three of those things. That's this shall be, and then you just don't have to keep saying the same language over. Economize on space on the drawing.
Yeah, that would actually free up some space. Thank you, Peter.
See, this is Roy, and this may be my ignorance here. I was looking at section AA, and I'm not familiar with what an OS and Y valve is.
Well, that would be a wheel valve based on the picture.
Yeah, you can actually tell when the valve's open because the threads are actually sticking up. Yeah.
I think Roy's question, I was being facetious, Roy. I think Roy's question is more, what does OS and Y stand for?
Well, if anybody knows that, I've been asking that question for a long time.
I will find out though.
Paul doesn't know?
You know, I did ask my, one of my water distribution guys, actually my meter shop superintendent. And he told me exactly what that wheel valve, he called out the acronym. I don't remember if it was OS and Y. And I questioned him on it, and then he explained it to me. So I'll follow back up on that.
I found it on the internet. I asked the Great and Powerful Oz, and it told me outside screw and yoke.
There you go.
It is. Yep.
Awesome. Thank you for the education.
As fast as my fingers could type it in the internet.
All these engineers here, and we can't figure it out. Thank you, Peter. We have to rely on Google. I mean, it's an old detail, 1998. I've never used it either, but. All right, anybody have any other questions on this fire line detector vault or any more comments on that?
Gene, I don't have any questions or comments on that. I don't know if I can do this, but I didn't want to belabor item number 4, but can I go back to item number 4 real quick? Just
On the agenda?
On the agenda. This is the tracer wire.
It's for the tracer wire.
Talking with everybody here, and is that something that I can
Is
do?
that appropriate, Gordon?
Say again?
What do you want to look at?
Nothing to really look at, but if we've only got one small comment on this, can I propose actually putting it up for action next meeting?
Sure. Yeah, we put it up for possible action.
I mean, we've gone through this very thoroughly. We've gone through this a number of
We can put it up
times.
for,
And if we're down to one comment, I would just suggest maybe we could put it up for action next meeting. I apologize for not catching earlier. I didn't want to slow the meeting down.
no,
Thank you for doing that. I think that's appropriate. And then if that'll, hopefully, if there is any other comments, maybe that'll
Yes, yes.
flush them out quickly.
yeah, Gordon, let's go ahead and, I'm on board with, Craig. Let's go ahead and push that up for discussion and possible action for the next meeting. So that means, the committee has less time, so let's get through it. Let's work through that one and be ready for next meeting.
And I think putting a little bit of heat on it because this is a carryover case. We're getting towards the middle part of the year, we're up to 17 agenda items. Might not be a bad thing to start.
All
looking at
right,
some of these
so moving from, we're just discussing the agenda item number 4, case 23-09. We went backwards. Sorry about that, guys. We're going right back forward to agenda item number 17. The fire line detection vault that's up on the screen. Was there any other questions or comments regarding that one? All right, hearing none, we're gonna move for items proposed to be heard, other items. This is agenda item number 18, working group reports. We'll start with the Water and Sewer Working Group. Jim?
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Chairman. So we met on 5/21. Well, basically just again covered the details, the cases that we've been over already, so I'm not going to go into that. With your cases on there, obviously, Gene. So you may, yeah, you could, if you could show up, that would be really great. So
Jim, I promise you what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna reshuffle my schedule. I have quite a few conflicts right at that time. But I'm gonna prioritize this. I can move those other conflicts around.
okay, that would be good. But yeah, we basically just went over your comment, your cases. Not a whole lot of new cases. There are not a whole lot of more discussion than what we covered here in depth. Well, I think everybody's in favor of eliminating the what do you call it?
We have two of them.
The outside retention. What do we call that? The tie rods. I'm sorry.
Yep.
Case 2404. The joint restraints with tie rods. I think everybody's pretty much in favor of eliminating that. It's just not used, or not shouldn't be used anymore. So. There's so many new pipes out there and fittings that incorporate restraints that you just don't need an external, old school device, I guess you want to call it. So, we did have a presentation by Adriana Losh on the reinforced box culvert. We got a draft case working on about, it's kind of going to be similar to what ADOT uses, the box, but with a few differences that will allow it maybe to be used in agencies. So that's going to be, that's a be interesting addition. So and then we just got feedback on the video testing. One of our main guys working on this, Kent Carlson, he's on the ASTM committee, and they're actually finalizing the specs, I understand, for these mandrels. So I don't know if we're going to get it done this year, but for sure next year we'll have a mandrel standard that'll be part of the testing for the sewer pipes. So. And that's really about it. I don't think I'm leaving anything out. So our next meeting will be on June 18th, next week, Tuesday, 1:30.
See you there.
All right, thank you.
All right, we'll move into the asphalt materials concrete working group. Now, who's going to speak on?
I will, Mr. Chairman. So as you can see here, most of the topics are around the two cases we discussed already. Point number 3, we had talked about bringing this forward as a case. It sounds like instead of trying to do multiple things here and create another spec, it sounds like there's a couple EVACs agencies that are looking to come out with their own supplement to EVAC that's going to be more aligned with MAG for acceptance, which then we could piggyback back into MAG. So we're going to kind of wait and see what that looks like. We're told that this is supposed to be out towards the end of this year, that we'll revisit this case at the beginning of next if something doesn't come out in that regard. Other than that, again, there's talks about a clearinghouse for mixed designs for agencies that use MAG wholly. It comes up about once a year. The problem always comes back to, well, who does the reviewing and who does the paying for such reviewing, and then who maintains the list? Well, it sounds great. Just bringing it back up because it was in the working group meeting, but this is about as far as it usually gets. It's just a talking point.
Is it because it's too much work?
Well, it's I guess the deciding of all of those different things. Who's going to be part of it? Who's going to select the reviewing panels, if you will? Who are those folks, and then who pays for it? That's usually, and then MAG itself would have to host the website, and just kind of the logistics of it all. This is usually where it seems to kind of fall off.
Okay.
But yet it seems to come up once a year, so I figured I'd just include it in the notes here. Fairly lengthy discussion over the two cases, though. That's why we went about an hour and 40 minutes. And our next meeting is scheduled for June 27th because Arizona Rock Products has their convention next week, so it's actually got pushed 1 week to the 27th, which means we're going to have to turn around anything that transpires at that working group meeting. We'll have to have that afternoon or the next day to Gordon so he can get the packet out. But we'll serve lunch on the 27th at noon at the ARPA office for any of those that wish to attend.
Thank you, Greg.
Greg, you mentioned you'll be touching on the EVAC options at that next meeting?
Oh, sorry, I had my mute on. More what we're waiting for is we've heard that there's a couple of agencies that are going to be putting out their kind of supplement to the EVAC because it's mostly centered around the acceptance side of the current EVAC that they haven't adopted. So they are formally going to be writing their own sort of EVAC. It's kind of a combined spec, which we were looking at doing for a proposed case this year. I'm told that's supposed to be out November-ish. And if that one comes out, then that one could be adopted to MAG for use by other agencies. So that's why we're kind of waiting on that one.
Okay. I'll try to get someone from Chandler to attend the next meeting then. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Greg. Go ahead and move right into back into the outside or right away working group. Peter, you gonna go ahead and update us on this?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We've talked a bit about the cases already. I did want to note in terms of the vegetation and rock bioswales, Eric did note that he would like to have City of Phoenix and Mesa look at General Note 2 that's on that detail. He said that there was a conflict between the comments from both of the agencies, reading through my notes, through the notes from the meeting, and that he wanted to make sure that it was properly clarified. So hopefully we can get that done before and have that looked at before the next meeting. We've talked about the thermoplastic. We've talked about those cases. Let's talk about the upcoming cases more than anything else. During the meeting, there was quite a bit of discussion and we continue to work on it. Again, thanks very much for moving forward with the CMP upgrades to the existing make standards. That's going to allow the CMP tank standard to move forward. And our goal is by the end of our next meeting and by this group's next meeting in July to have that case in front of you so we can meet the deadline of having it in hand. That was kind of the critical holding point. If we couldn't figure out how we were going to get the CMP standards changed, we would have to incorporate it within this. Now that we know, the goal is now to have this case in front of you in the July meeting. I can't go into too much detail because again, I wasn't sitting there in terms of the items, but that's the intent of that one. The other case that we intend to have in front of you will be the infiltration trench details. I did get one more comment that we do have a working detail right now, and there was a note that we may want to add in one more detail for an under pavement type of perforated pipe infiltration trench. I'll work on that. We'll talk about it in the working group next week, but the intent of that one is also to be presented in the July meeting. A lot of other stuff depends on those two moving forward. The only other thing I wanted to talk about, and it was kind of incidental to this, was not from, well, let me finish up. We do have our next meeting scheduled for June 20th, and it's going to be a virtual meeting. I did want to scroll back up, Gordon. You had that in the listing earlier. Yeah, that's the one right there. So we talked, and it was mentioned earlier about moving existing MAG standards or even past ones that have been kind of sidelined to the outside right of way. This is a list that had been roughly placed together. And what I'd like to do is put this in front of the committee members to take a look at this, and maybe we can have a discussion at the next meeting on should we be moving some of these into the outside right away? There's no real effort in terms of saying we're going to, obviously, we talked about the check vault with the case 24B. But here's the other list of items we thought likely would be good candidates to be moved into the outside right away. And I'd like you to take a hard look at this and any other ones you can see that maybe we should be moving in there. It would be nice if in the July meeting, if there was some consensus, we could de facto come up with a case of let's move this, and this in, and we can get it in July. I'd like everybody to consider thinking about that.
Yeah, grouping them together similar to I guess the corrections, the miscellaneous.
Correct, yes. So I'd like that to be an agenda item that we can discuss, and we kind of have an on the spot one we can do a yes, no. We'd like to have that moved in as a case. We don't have to necessarily accept them all, but at least we have the case on the books in July, and then we can debate it, move it forward. So that's all I had for discussion. We've got again our next meeting on the 20th, very quickly coming up, and hopefully we'll do some of this cleanup that you need, and we'll move forward and have a book this year.
Hey, Peter, real quick on that infiltration test is do you recall off the top of your head if there's a percolation test that's involved?
I'm sorry, infiltration trench, not test.
Right. Infiltration trench. Is there a percolation feat that's required for that trench?
We just had the concept of what the details look like. That's been brought up by others saying it would really be nice if we had that. So, as a comment on there, we could put a standard together, section that would talk about infiltration testing that would then be kind of a sister to the detail itself.
Right now, it's just kind of a general overview of it. All right. Fair enough.
That's not a bad idea. I mean, we hadn't thought about that, but I know some of the geotechs have brought that up before going, boy, wouldn't it be nice to have a MAG standard for infiltration testing?
When you mentioned under pavement, that's the first thing I thought is we want to make sure we have positive percolation because we don't want to percolate back up to the pavement.
Okay. Let me add that to the list of things. It's not like we can't just throw something together. I don't mean it derogatorily, but we got to try to get this in July so we have it on the books, and then we can continue working on it like some of these other cases.
Yeah, you have the general concept built, and we can go from there. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, we'll move into agenda item number 19. This is newer potential cases for 2024. Any member anywhere on this committee right now can present a new case for consideration. So if anybody has anything, I know we have potential updates to sidewalk ramps. Is that still? I did see that in. Yep, I did see that in.
I think the question to the committee is do we want to do that as a case this year? I don't see this requirement, this new final rule requirement going away. Although, as we've heard, the final PROAG will not be mandatory until it's adopted by the DOT and DOJ, which is to be determined when. We don't know when. But that requirement for separating, if the crossing is not intended, I don't think that's going to go away. So it's either we update our details now,
Get in front of
get in
it
front of it,
or be behind
or
it.
be behind it. I guess that's the question. This would apply to both 237 and 236 series details where we have a single ramp.
Right.
So,
taking into consideration, we do have a lot on our agenda, but I don't want that to discourage from staying in front of stuff. So if we want to bring it forward, I'm good with that. I encourage that.
I'm happy to sponsor that. It will help because I would like to get it into the MAG, and then I would like to remove our Chandler details in favor of the MAG. So,
And maybe that would be an opportunity to set up a small working group for this in particular, so we're not sorting all that out during the standard specifications detail committee meeting.
yeah, if needed.
Yeah. If needed, I would definitely, I can get somebody on board from Glendale with a working group.
Okay.
If needed. Any other potential cases for 2024? All right. Hearing none, we'll get into agenda item number 20. This is the MAG staff report. Gordon, do you have any report you want to give?
Nothing to report this month.
All right. Thank you, Gordon. That was a quick one. Could check on there quick enough. All right, we'll move into agenda item number 21, general discussion. This is on topics of interest related to specifications, construction practices, and other technologies. We won't be taking any action or anything on this particular item, but if there's anything that anybody's doing that's different or out of the norm, feel free to bring it to the committee and just update us. All right, I don't hear anything. I don't have anything. All right.
Mr. Chairman, I had something to bounce off people.
Go ahead.
Had issues, recently, maybe, what I mean by that, like a couple, 2 or 3 years where the, cast in place manhole bases are getting to be a challenge. And, I've talked to some of the industry people, contractors that actually do them, and it's not unheard of. And I think Scottsdale did them for a while about, starting to require forms, like the manhole bases to be formed instead of just flopping the concrete down and, hoping it's enough. It's harder to inspect when you don't have forms. Make sure you got, enough concrete down there. And we just been noticing it just seems to be getting, skimpier and skimpier, and just it's concerning. And I think one way around that is to require forms. Talking to some of our inspectors that have been around the country, it's not uncommon to require that. So, it's something I'd like to maybe consider, with our working group about starting to require forms for any cast in place bases.
Jim, for some reason, I recall, I'd have to look, maybe it's not in MAG, but I thought there was some kind of language in MAG requiring them to be formed, because I have a lot of contractors ask, well, do we have to form this one? A lot of times my inspectors will allow them to not form unless there's the potential for a future lateral to come into that. Maybe it's a straight through manhole and there's a empty lot on the south side that potentially could have commercial business and would need to tie into that manhole. That's when they'll require them to be formed. But for some reason, I thought there was something in MAG requiring forms, but I think that we should probably look at that. The forms definitely have their place, and I understand your challenges for sure. Can anybody else relate to Jim's comment or my rebuttal or comment?
No, they come into place when you're doing really large manholes. You almost have to form it. Otherwise you can't
keep spreading out on you.
No, that's true. Yeah, for the larger diameter, but we're having issues with even 8-inch. It's just, they're not enough concrete, and so then they're trying to maybe mix some ABC that might be adjacent to them just to stretch it out. And it's harder to measure that distance. Make sure you got enough around the manhole outside of the precast where the impression ring that they have. So I don't know.
Have you gone through and looked through the standard specification for manhole?
Yeah, I didn't think I saw anything really specific on it. I'll take a closer look at it. Maybe we need to enforce it some more, but and then maybe in the same realm, I'm thinking about minimum time. We're looking at maybe requiring 48 hours minimum before you start setting sections on top of it, because we've had them being set prematurely, because they say 24 hours, and so if they do it like at the end of the day, then they think that the next morning is, hey, it's the next day we can set them, and it's you're not even getting that true 24 hours. So
yeah, that is a constant battle in Glendale. I've had to have I've had to remove brand new manholes in land development projects because they're, 18 to 20 feet deep and they were, stacked air quotes 24 hours later, which means you finish casting it at 2:00 PM and you stack it at 8 AM the next day. I totally understand where you're coming from. That's been a challenge for us as well. But that said, I did run the calculations for I think it was quite a few years ago, but for I think an average 10-foot deep manhole and the compressive strength per square inch, and it worked out to about 42 hours, somewhere around there, to be 80% of strength. So, but it's been a while since I ran that, but it's definitely something worth looking at.
Well, yeah, and if there's an application where you need to do it quicker than that, like even overnight, you're going to use a precast base, which is we've been those are getting more and more common. So, you got options to use as well. So, all right, that's all I had. Thank you.
All right, thank you. We'll go ahead and move into agenda item number 22. This is requests for future agenda items, not necessarily cases, but any future agenda items. Does anybody have any requests on this? All right. Agenda item number 23 is comments from the committee. This could be a brief summary of current events. I'd like to ask ADOT question, Audra, if she's still on. It's your first meeting with MAG for the Standard Specifications and Detail Committee. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I like it. I like the meeting. I'm actually already comparing it to what our standards committee meeting looks like and taking a few of your ideas. So thanks.
Great.
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Go ahead,
I'm going to kind of announce, so this will be my last meeting here. A guy named Josh Ford will be taking over for me in Buckeye. I believe he's still online. Josh, are you still there?
I am.
Okay, yeah, Josh will be taking over for me from here on forward. So excellent engineer. He's very smart. He's very good at what he does. So
should we start your eulogy now? Because we're going to
be nice to him.
So, Josh, can we get a quick introduction? I should have introduced you from the get-go. I apologize, but can we get a quick introduction from you?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, good afternoon, everyone. Josh Ford here at the City of Buckeye. Before I tell you a little bit about myself, I do want to take a moment to recognize Craig. Craig has represented the City of Buckeye on this committee for quite some time, as I'm sure you're all aware of, and I'm confident the committee and MAG has benefited from his input and expertise. So thank you to Craig for all of your efforts over time with that. And Craig's not going anywhere. He's just doing different things with the city. So he'll still be around as a Buckeye resource, and I will likely be picking his brain in the future on things. As for myself, I've been with the city since 2019. I'm currently the engineering manager here. In that role, I manage and support the group of folks that do a lot of the engineering technical review for development projects, for CIP projects, that type of thing. So certainly in that capacity, we deal with the MAG details and specs on a continual basis on our projects. Prior to coming to the city, I was in the private sector, worked for a couple of consulting firms doing roadway design. And so there again, got the opportunity to utilize MAG details and information. So I have some perspective certainly for the value and the importance of MAG and what it means to all of us. And so excited to get involved with the committee, be able to participate and be able to get to know all of you better. So thank you for having me.
Great. Thanks for being here. And for all the committee members, including you, Josh, more than welcome to join us in person. I actually prefer in person. I can see eyebrows go up. I could see smiles or frowns or eye rolls, whatever it may be. So I encourage everybody to be in person. And Audra, just a quick note, if you copy one person, I think they call that plagiarism, but if you copy multiple people, it's research, right?
Yes, thanks.
That, we're gonna move into adjournment. I appreciate everybody being here. Y'all have a good rest of your evening.
Thank you.
Thanks.
You.